So I want to clear up something. Apparently, some people think that the way I start off my topics is an affectation, but in reality, it's just how I start when I open my mouth. So when you hear me say that little, yeah, that's just me opening my mouth. There's nothing about it that's meant to be anything other than the sound of me opening my mouth. So if you're thinking I'm being affected or anything like that, it's not the case. It's just how I speak, like that. So yeah, just wanted to pass that on. Somebody pointed it out to me, and I've known about it for a long time. I've just always tried to figure out how to deal with it. I also always hoped nobody else was going to notice it. I noticed it, and I really tried hard to like not do it, but some of these posts, just like I have to try like 10 or 15 times just to get what I want to say down in like a minute or 2 minutes. That by the time I actually get something complete, if that sound is at the very beginning, I'm not going to start over and do it again. But I try my hardest to actually not make that sound. So know that it is something in the front of my head, and I am working on stopping it. Anyway, second day of January. It's been exactly 1 year since I was quit from the Eagle. Happy anniversary to me. Ooh. Have a good night. You know, it's interesting. I've just discovered that if I'm looking at myself in a tinted window and I can't really see any discernible features, and I'm looking at myself from the side, I don't look too haggard for 47. Who knew? So I guess that's how I need to appear always. No discernible features, side view, in tinted windows. Sounds good to me. Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can find the boys on the Treasure Island Media site. So I went in, and I went to, I guess, Tim Suck, because they told me that their fucking videos hadn't shown up yet. So I went into Tim Suck and I was looking around and I found them. And I could not watch it. It was actually kind of painful just to see them in that position doing that. I was like, reindeer games, that's all I could think of. And so I saw it and I was like, you know what? I think it's just best if I don't look at this stuff. I mean, I like porn, but I've never been able to really get into watching my friends doing porn. It's weird. I don't disagree with it. It's just weird for me to watch. Jealousy, maybe? I don't know. Awkwardness. Definitely. I really think there needs to be a button on some computer somewhere at the shop that will let me know if one of the clients I'm going to have come in is a child. That way I can at least prepare myself to deal with the nightmare that is a 7-year-old. Having to constantly tell them to sit still, or that if they keep on moving, I'm going to cut off their ear. I also think I should charge them more for dealing with a kid. Even though the haircut's going to look like shit because the kid won't sit still, will not listen to me, won't listen to his mom, too busy screaming or crying or digging boogers out of his nose. It drives me crazy, really seriously. So, question. When one is attending an orgy, what is the appropriate etiquette? Does one just jump in? Does one wait to be invited in? Does one ask? Don't really know. Yeah. I smell hot dogs. Actually, I just found out the strangest thing
which I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. The Rawhide in New Orleans, which was one of the more sleazy bars I've ever been at, where I've gotten more blowjobs in the back room, has become a straight bar. What the fuck? How did that happen? Can somebody please explain that to me? Seriously. And the Phoenix? What the fuck is going on with the Phoenix? What the fuck is going on with just the gay community basically in New Orleans? Or at least the French Quarter, because this is all fucking weird. Anyone want to explain this to me? I think I want to start calling out hipsters who are flagging with bandanas in their back pockets. I mean, if they're gonna flag, they might as well at least know what the color means, right?
It's so fucking hot outside. I think I'm making gravy. Anyone from the South knows exactly what I'm talking about. Ugh, too hot. Ugh.
My favorite clients, always my favorite, are the ones who just want to fuck. Nothing strange, nothing weird. They just want to have sex, plain old ordinary sex, and then pay me for it. My favorite clients.
A couple boys I know are headed to San Diego this weekend for a very debaucherous weekend. I hope they have a lot of fun. I hope they get tore up. And that's all good. That's positive. Because they deserve it. They deserve to have that kind of fun. And I'm only a little jealous. But mostly because I never got that opportunity when I was their age. Hell, I didn't think there was that kind of opportunity when I was their age. Hell, when I was their age, fisting was a myth. People talked about it, but nobody actually did it. But that was also when I lived in Albuquerque, so fuck that. It's strange. Every time I see a large group of women of a certain age, I immediately think of like something like some creepy cult called like the Sisterhood of the Purple Pants. Didn't they make a movie documenting people like that, where they would sit around and talk about like life and their husbands and books and things that were quirky that their husbands did that weren't really bad but just odd? I don't understand. They're always wearing slacks, and like their hair's always wild and crazy because they've just stopped taking care of it because they're progressive. I don't get it. So yeah, I see large groups of women of a certain age and I immediately assume creepy cult. Like they need to find some ashram somewhere and like grow snow peas and soybeans and radishes. What I was talking about was the fact that I had just gotten off the light rail and there was not a single peep from a single person in that train. It was like a tomb full of white people being completely silent, like terrified that they'd say something and cause a break in the silence. I don't get it. I really just don't get it. Okay, so I am literally 6 blocks from the closest ice cream shop. How is it there are people still eating an ice cream cone 6 blocks away from an ice cream shop? That makes no sense. How fucking slow are they eating it? Shouldn't it be melted by now? Shouldn't the cone be dissolving at this point? I don't get it. Who lets ice cream last that long? Has anyone ever seen or know of a straight man that wears Nasty Pig? I haven't, ever, come to think of it. Is it a clothing line that they just completely ignore and avoid? Subconsciously or willingly? Or am I just blind and not seeing it? Even baseball caps, it's weird. I was walking home from work today, and as I was crossing the street, I came across a few people that I recognized from the gym from many, many moons ago when I used to go during what they called happy hour, which was
pretty much right after 5 p.m. when all the homos got off work and proceeded to go there and turn the gym into a cruising site. It was the worst period of my life going during that time. It was so toxic and so just judgmental. It was awful. I just couldn't. And eventually, after 14 years of putting up with it, I finally stopped going. And now I go in the morning, which is much, much, much better. It's just me and a whole bunch of old people. And, you know, everyone's just doing their own shit.
Okay, so if you don't want to hear too much information about me, you might want to not watch this one. So I was watching a porn, go figure, and it had a guy who could suck his own dick. So I was like, I'm gonna finally try this. So got on my back, flipped over, legs behind me, you know, all that shit. No, couldn't reach, like 3 inches or so away, but close. For a 48-year-old man, it'd probably be a good idea to stretch beforehand, because my back is fucked up now. Oops. All just for the name of sex. Not that I'm going to do it, but whenever I walk over the freeway, there's this weird urge to jump off the bridge. I don't know why. It kind of freaks me out, so I actually have to walk even further away from the railing for fear that I will either somehow fall over the railing or I'll just leap. Now the question is, do I want to leap towards the cars coming towards me or leap towards the cars driving away? Important questions. So I've come to realize there are two different types of people regarding music. You have people who actually focus on it and, you know, build a nice playlist, or, you know, are very discerning about what they like to listen to, and they like to have some kind of ambient, you know, appropriate atmosphere for wherever it is that they are or work or whatever. And then you have those who look at new music as it's sound. That's it. It's just noise in the background. I have no interest in what I'm actually listening to because it's just sound. Unfortunately, there's a few people that I work with who look at it as that, which means as soon as they start, I am constantly disturbed at exactly what they're playing, and I don't think they realize it's awful.
You know, I realized in the past 5 years or so that I actually haven't had sex in my house. I haven't had sex with people in sunlight. I don't even know what most of the people look like under daylight. It's always at a bathhouse. So it's always in dim light, barely noticeable, barely communicating. It's really depressing, actually. It's kind of fucked up. But, you know, not exactly sure how to adjust this, as my partner's made it very clear that he does not want me bringing people over to the house, which is annoying because that basically takes half of the options off the table immediately. So I end up having to go there as a substitute.
I've been thinking about it. It's kind of interesting. As long as any video that has been made of me having sex isn't edited, I'm perfectly fine watching it. But the minute it's edited, I have no desire. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see any bit of it. I don't know why. Maybe I just find homemade much more stimulating than edited and cleaned up and lit. I don't know. It's, you know, to each their own, I guess. You know, give me something that's just raw footage anytime. It's much more interesting.
There's a person struggling because somebody's eating his ass. Do you know anyone who's going to struggle against that?
I remember having many discussions with you and humorous comments with you regarding specific TV celebrities. So hopefully you enjoy this, and I hope you catch the point of this. I'm going to read, so I'm not really good at reading, so I apologize if I stumble here and there, but you'll get the image. Peaches and subsequently nectarines are rather delicate and bruise easily. I have a handful of harvesters I trust with this task. Every year, just before melon season, I send by train some of my highest quality farmhands from my estate near the vineyards to the Pacific Northwest, where I have purchased a small 10-acre peach orchard. They must smell each individual fruit while they avoid as best they can touching the fruit. The fruit should be extremely aromatic and almost floral, yet bright and rich. Every season I have them rent very specific gloves for picking the fruit. These extremely soft alpaca wool gloves keep my workers' hands from unintentionally bruising the fruit. As they are collected, they are immediately placed in boxes that have separate holes in them, one for each peach. A fine, lightweight crepe paper is packed around each fruit to avoid them being jostled, as they are immediately shipped to my estate in the Hamptons, where I carefully oversee the kitchen help, preparing jams and my award-winning peach brown Betty. Once all the best fruit are harvested, the people who tend the orchard use these machines to shake free all the remaining fruit. Upon returning the gloves, my fruit pickers are given first choice to the remaining fruit. The rest are sent out to various farmers' markets throughout the Pacific Northwest. Luckily for me, around the time these harvesters return to my estate, they are just in time for picking the melons. How serendipitous, wouldn't you say? It seems that nature has made it so that when the fruit are ready, they do not overlap, making it so much easier for me to gather all the fruits I need.